With the average price of a brand new vehicle being well out of reach for most Americans in 2023, consumers are searching for a great value. Unfortunately, affordable cars and crossovers don't always fit the criteria of being an all-around perfect daily driver. But Chevrolet might have something that will pique your interest. With the all-new 2024 Chevrolet Trax, GM is hoping to reshape this segment, as their most affordable crossover has undergone a major transformation to possibly become one of the best subcompacts priced below $30,000. So here are 5 reasons why you should buy a 2024 Chevrolet Trax. It goes without saying that a lot has changed for the first generation Chevy Trax, as its design and interior is just a small portion as to why there's so much excitement surrounding this crossover. For 2024, the Trax grows in length by 11 inches and is 2 inches wider than the crossover it's replacing, being closer in size to a Honda HR-V, and is actually substantially larger than a Subaru Crosstrek, Mazda CX-30, and Jeep Compass. It's for that reason we believe the Trax is pushing the boundaries of what a subcompact crossover is in 2023, as its almost compact crossover-like size will give customers better flexibility and versatility. For second-row passengers, the 38.7 inches of legroom will provide plenty of space, and in fact would be similar to some larger crossovers on the market. Because the floor is completely flat, the Trax is one of very few vehicles in this price range where you could fit 3 people in the back. But it gets even better for the practicality, as its 25.6 cubic feet of room behind the second row of seats outclasses many, including the Subaru Crosstrek and Mazda CX-30, and would be on par with the Honda HR-V. While historically subcompacts have never been looked to as being the most family-friendly, the Trax just might be the best option out there if practicality is a #1 priority. Most of the praise for the second generation Trax centers around its new looks that draw inspiration from the Trailblazer and Blazer. Incorporating styling cues from both its siblings, the Trax is now an attention getter, especially in the 2RS trim, as contrasting accents for the bar that runs through the grille and into the headlights add some sportier characteristics to the front fascia. And unlike what's typically seen in this segment, Chevy didn't incorporate an egregious amount of plastic cladding, which would have taken away from the road presence. Trendy, the LED daytime running lights are separated from the main headlight housings, and while the turn signals are incandescent, the headlights are full LED, which is a nice touch for a crossover priced at $25,000. Then coming around to the back, the Trax does have a lifted hatchback appearance, particularly with the low roofline and the way in which the rear fascia is rounded off. But taking on similar design cues from larger subcompact crossovers, Chevy's most affordable offering in their crossover SUV lineup has gone a bit upmarket relative to where the last generation was placed. While pricing would state otherwise, the Trax's road presence doesn't reflect a vehicle that directly competes against the Nissan Kicks and Hyundai Venue, and instead should be in the same conversation with the Mazda CX-30 and Subaru Crosstrek. But that's all to be determined once Chevy ramps up production and further comparisons can be made. Subcompact crossovers usually follow the same blueprint of having underpowered, naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engines, with either a CVT or a 6-speed automatic with very slow 0 to 60 times. Recently, we've seen turbos make their way into this segment to liven up what's normally seen as mundane and boring daily drivers. But Chevrolet took a rather unique approach to this market that not many rivals have embraced as of yet. Powering the Trax for 2024 is a 1.2-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine, producing 137 horsepower and 162 pound-feet of torque, and is paired with a 6-speed automatic transmission. On paper, none of these numbers seem all that impressive, yet the Trax has this uncanny ability to not feel slow, despite having a 0 to 60 time of around 9 seconds. Some of that can be attributed to the fact that Chevy didn't drop in a CVT, and possibly with the turbo, there's this perception that it's quicker when you're behind the wheel than in reality. Either way, for 2024, there's some inspiring driving characteristics that may surprise you when taking this crossover out for a test drive. Now, we're not saying that the Trax is going to resemble a Blazer in terms of handling capabilities and overall performance, but what caught us off guard was the decent amount of weight to the steering. Since this crossover doesn't have a sports-tuned suspension, there won't be a lot of feedback in the corners, which is to be expected, but there's not as much disconnect to the road that's commonly seen in this segment. Because the Trax is hatchback-like, even with the 7 inches of ground clearance, the driving dynamics are car-like, offering a glimmer of agility that does shine through when cruising on back roads. While we do believe that Chevy can go one step further with the performance, as there's a lot of potential with this platform, the Trax for 2024 is a pleasant surprise when it pertains to the on-road demeanor. It's a difficult task in the automotive industry to have a vehicle that's both affordable and inspiring to own, as subcompact crossovers usually are refrigerators on wheels and lack character in design and driving dynamics. The Chevrolet Trax was one of those vehicles in the past, and was unlikely to be on anyone's list of considerations in this market, as paying a little extra would get you a Subaru Crosstrek or Mazda CX-30. For 2024, Chevy has engineered a rather intriguing subcompact, as it's not just what you see on the outside that draws your attention, but rather the interior that could play a pivotal part in your buying decision. For the 2RS and Active, you're greeted by leatherette trimmed seats that are also heated, but unlike rivals, you have an interior that wraps around you, feeling compact crossover-like when you look at the center console and dashboard layout. For one, you have a full digital gauge cluster that is customizable, but you also have an 11-inch touchscreen with wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatibility. Despite the hard touch plastics found on the door panels and dashboard, the Trax at first glance doesn't appear cheap, and dare we say, you might feel inspired to get behind the wheel for a weekend getaway. Since the Trax isn't a performance crossover, most of its appeal is predicated on the comfort and driving environment, and considering that this subcompact is priced well below $30,000, it'll be more engaging than a Nissan Kicks or Hyundai Venue. For a crossover that maxes out close to $27,000, if you opt for the 2RS or Active, obviously it's going to fall short in one way or another, as Chevy's intentions with this generation Trax was to reinvent the subcompact crossover to be something far more than just cheap transportation. They certainly achieved that. However, all that's truly missing is all-wheel drive, which we believe could propel the Trax towards the top in this segment if equipped, as this vehicle has the practicality that outclasses rivals, modern technology that's not typically found in a vehicle in this price range, and most importantly, from an on-road perspective, it has a powertrain and transmission that masks the flaws that's associated with smaller engines. While not perfect, the Trax could very well be an ideal daily driver for those on a budget, and worth considering if you want to buy a crossover under $30,000. We hope you enjoyed this quick buyer's guide for the 2024 Chevy Trax. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe for more videos like this one. And if you're interested in buying a Chevy Trax or any other subcompact crossover, make sure to check out our full reviews to help you find your next vehicle. And thanks for watching.